what to do if your wallet is stolen. So first thing to do is my thoughts are, is your wallet really stolen? When we think we've lost our wallet, we sort of go into panic mode, or at least I do. And I think most people I've talked to about this, you go into panic mode at first. And a lot of times you actually can find your wallet fairly quickly if you just slow down, think about it. So you really, before you do all the things, if your wallet really is stolen, they're hard to undo some of those things. So you just want to make sure that you just haven't misplaced the wallet, and you want to start to backtrack and just make sure on that. But this is a balancing act, because if your wallet truly is stolen, time is of the essence. If somebody gets a hold of your credit card and starts charging it, you really need to notify your credit card companies as soon as possible. We'll go into that in a minute. So just something to think about. Just try to not be in panic mode and try to just think about where your wallet may be. And then once you are sure that has been lost or stolen, then you want to go into and talk about the things we're going to go over next. And then another thing to think about, we now have these Bluetooth trackers, the air tags or the tiles, and they're relatively small, and maybe something that we might want to consider putting in our wallets or in our purse, or even attaching. I've seen some people attach it to their phone. We'll talk a little bit more about the air tags and tiles just in a minute. But these are the tracking devices that you can then use your phone or your laptop or desktop to try to find what is being tagged. So just some things to think about from that standpoint. So any questions so far? All right, so let's go to the next step and say that wallet really is missing, whether it's stolen or you have just misplaced it, but can't find it. Either one, you want to do the same thing, because if you have misplaced it, at some point it's going to be found. You don't know who's going to be found by, so to speak. If it has physically been stolen, you want to work extra quickly, because if it's stolen, the person has stolen it with the thought process of trying to use your credit cards and or debit cards. So you should file a police report. And then you want to cancel any and all debit cards and credit cards that you had in your purse or wallet that was stolen. So you have to do this one at a time. If you have 3 credit cards in your wallet, you need to call all 3 different credit card companies, or a debit card is the same type of thing. So you need to call each company, or maybe even better than that, now if you have your credit card company on an app on your phone. I believe every credit card company, everyone I've looked at and dealt with or explored, they do have apps, and within the app itself, you can cancel your credit card. So it makes it real easy. Some of them actually allow you to put a pause on it, meaning that you are canceling it, but then if you find it within a short period of time, you can unpause it. So that would be the case if indeed you do find your wallet or your purse later and it hasn't been stolen, nothing's been used, you could bring that card back. But with a lot of companies, once you cancel it, that card is no longer going to be good anymore. The debit cards are even more time sensitive than credit cards. I'm going to, on the next screen, we'll talk a little bit more about that. The other thing you want to do is notify the 3 major credit bureaus if your cards have been stolen, and put a freeze on your credit or set up a fraud alert. I do have some other GetSetUp classes that talk and go into more detail about the freeze versus the fraud alert. But if your card is stolen, you need to do one of these 2 things. By doing this, what's going to happen is this person has stolen your information, now has some more data on you. And if they have some credit card information, they may be able to get and apply for new credit cards in your name. So that's what the freeze or the fraud alert is going to help prevent to some extent. So canceling the debit and credit card is probably the first thing. You probably should do that even before you file a police report. The police report is going to take some time. You do want to file the police report for a couple of different reasons. One, in case it's just easier with your credit card company or debit company has some challenges, whether your card was really stolen, when it was stolen. By filing a police report, you have on file a document confirming what you know happened, and more importantly, when it happened. So you want to do that first, then probably file a police report and then notify the credit bureaus. The next phase is now you're going to need to update your auto payment account. So if you have any regular monthly or weekly charges that you have automatically put to your credit card, remember that credit card, now it's been stolen, is going to be canceled, and you're going to get a brand new credit card number and security code. So you're going to need to go back to all your auto payments and get to those specific companies or your bank, however it goes through, and give them the new credit card information. Most of this can usually be done online, but you need to make sure you do that. So again, a good way to do this is have a list of all your accounts that are automatic pay and which credit card or checking account they're with. And that way, if something does happen, you're able to quickly go back and figure out exactly what companies have the auto payment on there. A lot of us have it for our, maybe for our mortgages or rent. We have it for all our Uber and Lyft accounts. We probably have it for a lot of our monthly bills that we have going through with the streaming services, and a lot of other those recurring accounts, things we get charged every month, a fee every month. Almost all of those are with credit cards. So if your credit card gets stolen, you have to go in once you get the new credit card and post that new credit card information to each of those services that is billing you automatically on the credit card. Sometimes people forget that. So thoughts, comments, questions so far? All right, and then you're going to need to replace probably your driver's license is going to be the first thing you're going to want to need to replace. Hopefully, you don't have your Social Security card in your wallet, and hopefully you don't have your Medicare card in your wallet. It shouldn't be there, except maybe if you're going to the doctor that particular day, you might want to put your Medicare card in there. I do give another session, a 20-minute class on what not to carry in your wallet. So if you have some questions about that, we go into a lot more detail about what should and shouldn't be in your wallet. But typically there's no good reason to be carrying your Social Security card. And unless you're going to a doctor's appointment, there's no good reason to carry your Medicare card. So anything before we move on? All right, so we said we'd talk a little bit more about the debit card. Now, the debit card is fairly time sensitive. So this is the information. If you report your debit card lost or stolen before any unauthorized charges are made, then you do not owe anything. If you report it within 2 business days after you learn about the loss or theft, the maximum loss you will have is $50. If you report your debit card is lost or stolen more than 2 business days after you learn about it, but within 60 calendar days, you will owe a maximum of $500. And if you do not report your debit card is lost or stolen for more than 60 days, all the money that is taken out, you do not have legal recourse. So the debit card company does not need to reimburse you for that money. So the credit cards have a little more flexibility, especially early on. But the debit card doesn't have as much flexibility. So that's why I would encourage, from the last screen we had about canceled debit and credit cards, I would cancel your debit card right away to try to protect any losses that you may have financially. And then the Federal Trade Commission, that's the FTC we have down here at the bottom. The Federal Trade Commission is associated with consumer finances, and they recommend you follow up the report You're going to call up your debit card company, tell them the card is stolen, work on getting a new debit card. The Federal Trade Commission recommends that you follow up in writing to your debit card company that you have reported it. You could do this via email. If you get their email address, just a brief thing that, tell them who you are, tell them at a certain date, a certain time you called up and spoke to somebody, and that you asked that your credit card or your debit card be canceled because it was lost or stolen. That way you have it in writing and a trace for it. Call them up first, get it in play, and then follow it up in writing. Again, because of all these limits on the penalties or on the maximum amount that you may lose out of your account if you don't. Any questions on this? Any thoughts? All right, so what about if your phone goes away also? We briefly talked about this, especially if you have it in a purse. We talked about the tracking devices. So you can use either of these tracking devices with either types of phone, the Androids or the Apple. Apple is the one that does sponsor the AirTag. So most people that have Apple use the AirTag. Most people that have Androids use the Tile. They basically do similar things. They are Bluetooth tracking device. So they give out a ping as to where they are, and then you can locate where that is based on a feature on another app within your cell phone itself. So this might be a good way to try to track it down, at least your phone. And again, if you have one of these tiles or AirTags in your wallet or your purse, you can figure out where it is. So this might be a good thing to have. So anybody want to share any experience they've had with their AirTag? People do it for a lot of different things. They put them in on their car, put them in their luggage, put them on keys, all kinds of things that they can track. So you can even put it on your pet if you want, around the collar. So if anybody has any experiences with that and wants to share it with the group, that would be great. So just a couple other things. So what happens if you lose your wallet? Remember, we talked about your driver's license, which is typically going to be key to getting you around if you're flying, especially if you're out on vacation or away from home and you're going to have a flight back and you lose your driver's license. It may be difficult to get on that plane. So it is possible. I will send you this link from the Transportation Security Administration that talks about it, but you want to arrive at the airport extra early if you don't have your wallet. The office, the TSA, the Transportation Security Administration officer, may ask you to complete an identity verification process form. And they're going to collect some information about you. If they're able to confirm who you are, they will allow you to go through the screening checkpoint. It's also good to have the police report. If you do that, you can say you should bring a copy of the police report and anything else to help TSA confirm who you are. So just something to think about. Again, I will give you this link so you can do a little more detailed research into that. And then if you're flying international, the passport is the key link there, just like the driver's license is for domestic travel. So if you are out of the country and you lose your passport, you do need to contact the U.S. Embassy or consulate closest to you for assistance, and they will work with you to see what they can do. You do need to, a lot of times it takes a while to get one of these appointments, so you have to tell them why it is so they can put you on an appointment quickly. You will probably need, you can go on the website first to see, you're probably going to need to bring a photo of you, a replacement photo for a replacement passport that they can make in a quick basis for you. So again, let's just look at it. Let's not panic, as we talked about before, and figure out if we can fly back home by getting a temporary or replacement passport. through the Department of State. And again, this information is from the Department of State website, and I will give you this link to help on that. So there's a question about started late or came into class late about the tiles. So the tiles are little trackers that you can buy. They're probably the size of a little bit bigger than a quarter, a little bit thicker than a quarter also. And they track with your phone. You can put an app on your phone and you can track where whatever that article is that you put on the tile or the air tag is. So you, like I said, you can use it for anything you want. But this might be something to consider for your purse or your wallet. And basically, if you lose whatever it is, you go on your phone. So hopefully you don't lose your phone. And if you do lose your phone, you can do it based on your laptop. And you can find out where this article or instrument is. You know, like I said earlier, some people use it for a whole bunch of different things. I use one for when we're traveling for our suitcase. My wife usually checks in her suitcase, so we'll look for that. And, you know, hopefully everything is going well, but if the suitcase gets lost, we can try to figure out where it is. And the good news is when it's coming, you know pretty much when it's going to get to the carousel, because it's getting closer and closer to you. It literally tracks where it is, tells you where it is. And as you get closer to it, if something you lose, it will tell you you're within X amount of feet, et cetera, of it. So you can try to find it. So that's a brief summary of the tile itself.